It is 7 o'clock. We'll call the meeting to order. We do have a quorum with Joe Hubenite being absent. Welcome, everybody. At this time, we'll open the meeting with our traditional moment of silence that you can observe as you feel appropriate. Thank you. Now, if you'd stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, let's get right into it. The recognition toward Dr. Randall.
Yes, sir, Mr. President. We have a state champion to introduce to the board tonight, and I guess if we'll just step right up front.
All right.
Yes, and Coach Kimball is here to present.
Come over here.
Can y'all hear me? I probably don't even need the mic, I'm loud enough. All right, so Valerie is a 3-year varsity wrestler from Foster High School. She's a senior captain who posted a career record of 115 and 17. She claimed 3 district championships, 2 regional championships, a state qualifier for 3 years. This year she claimed the state championship in her weight class and is currently ranked 13th nationally by USA Wrestling. She is also a nominee for Vite Magazine's Wrestler of the Year. I had the pleasure of coaching Valerie these last 2 seasons, but Val's success is a result of all the coaches and teammates who have worked with her and encouraged her throughout her career. The thing about Val is that she's always super hungry to be successful. After her first year, after her first year, she came off the mat, and that's what Coach Rion told me. She was extremely frustrated. She didn't place at states, turned in all of her gear, and said, "I'm done. I'm not wrestling ever again." Well, I couldn't be happier to tell you that I really felt like that moment pushed her and drove her to where she is today. To be successful in the sport, you must have passion, character, drive, determination, work ethic, humility, a willingness to sacrifice, be able to learn from your mistakes, and above all, discipline. These are all traits that something that Val possesses. The one thing I'm going to miss the most from Val is her leadership. Val grew into a tremendous captain and a great leader on and off the mat. Not only was Val one of our most valuable wrestlers, she was also one of the most valuable teammates and someone I'm certainly going to miss. One last thing I want to thank her for is all her dedication throughout these past 3 years. She melded hard work, a team attitude, and what it takes to become a state champion. I'll also like to thank her mom, Veronica, for always being there for that extra support, not only for her daughter, but the program. They are both going to be greatly missed. Val plans on attending, I cannot pronounce this college up in Oregon. It's spelled funny. So there's either that school up in Oregon, Colorado Mesa University, or McKendree University to continue wrestling and for education. Thank you for your time.
It's how big, you know what I mean? It's in the middle.
Ready? 1, 2, 3. One more time. 1, 2, 3. Oh, I lied. One more time. I'll get it right eventually. 1, 2, 3. Beautiful. Thank you.
Wow.
That's what this district's about. Fantastic. Do we have any introductions this evening?
Yes, sir, Mr. President. We have one introduction this evening.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen of the board. I would like to introduce you to the new assistant principal at Pink Elementary, Katrina McLean. She's a 2001 graduate of Houston Baptist University with a bachelor's degree in biology and psychology. She received her master's in 2008 in administration and supervision from the University of Houston, Victoria. She has 17 years of experience in education, including 8 years of teaching, 3 years as an RTI facilitator, and 6 years as a math facilitator, and we put her to work immediately. Congratulations.
Where'd she graduate?
Lamar, I think. And she's homegrown, Mr. President.
Outstanding. We got a lot of those in the district, don't we?
We love it.
Audience patrons.
Yes, Mr. President, we are now at the portion of the meeting when the board allots time to hear persons who desire to make comments to the board. Persons who speak to the board must sign up to do so as they arrive, and they must indicate the topic about which they wish to speak. No presentation shall exceed 5 minutes. Delegations of more than 5 persons shall appoint one person to present their views. The board will hear the concerns, but the board cannot deliberate, discuss, or make a decision on any subject that is not posted on the agenda. Persons who speak to the board cannot complain about a district officer or employee in open session. Such concerns are heard in closed session after proper posting of the agenda item has occurred. As you come forward, please state your name and your address. Our speaker is Courtney Wilcox.
My name is Courtney Wilcox, and I live at 11015 Annaloo Drive in Richmond. I'm also extremely nervous because I did not know that my parents were going to be here, and I did not know that half of the former teaching staff at Lamar High School was going to be here who educated me. I am mom to a Lehman Charger and 2 Bentley Blazers. I have no complaints or issues to be addressed by the board at this time, but would like to share from my heart some thoughts from my perspective regarding the leadership and service of our Board of Trustees, and would like to publicly affirm and encourage you for the time that you've given the last few years in public service to the students and families of Lamar CISD. I am unable to attend the May board meeting, so I wanted to take this opportunity to address our current board. And I'm nervous. For the better portion of my life, I was always known as Coach Carter's daughter, which meant higher expectations from teachers and absolutely no dating whatsoever, especially with football players. Y'all stop laughing, I only have 5 minutes. And my dad went over back in March. I grew up, got married, by the way, to someone not of this area who didn't know the hardcore reputation of Coach Carter. I began my teaching career, and I started a family with my own identity as Courtney Wilcox. Yet thanks to many of you behind this dais, I have recently reverted back to simply being known as Coach Carter's daughter again, just like my sister, and I'm okay with that. The naming and opening of John Carter Elementary has been nothing short of the most unimaginable and humbling experience for our family. And it is thanks to the decisions made in this room by many of the people in this room. We have been treated with the utmost respect and gracious consideration. I know that having a living namesake adds a new dynamic to the school opening process, but from my dad's perspective, it has been nothing short of an honor. Many of you know that shortly after the school was named, my dad was in a horrific accident that almost took him away from us in this special occasion. The outpouring of love, prayers, support, and Whataburger gift cards that we received from people in this room was humbling and greatly appreciated. You need to know that we have good, caring, and thoughtful people making decisions on behalf of Lamar CISD. To the administrative staff here, Board of Trustees, and other paid school personnel, Dr. Randall, Mr. Rockwood, Ms. Lane, Mr. McKeever, although I know him as Kevin, representatives of Vanner Rice Gardner, and our new extended family member, Ms. Hinva Medlow, and others. Thank you for the effort and detail that was put into the opening of John Carter Elementary this past August, as well as the dedication ceremony on November 27, 2018. What a special and unforgettable event that was for our family, especially for my dad. After his accident, my dad had to take some permanent steps back from his farming and ranching business. We all wondered what he would do with his time and energy because, as you know by now, my dad is a people person who thrives on friendships, relationships, and investing in others. His favorite part about Carter Elementary, however, was not the dedication ceremony, as nice as it was. And please don't take offense to any of those who helped orchestrate such a meaningful event. No, his favorite part is the high fives he gets in the hallways each week that he's there. The hugs and the good morning, Coach Carter, that he gets when he helps in the carpool line. The chats with and getting to know the dads on duty. And especially the chances he's had to visit with the staff and encourage them and bring treats to them with my mom. Oh, and also the invitations from Miss Medlow to help participate in fun events like being a bingo caller at family fun nights or to be the judge for Ron Clark house parties. That's where the magic is. It's in those everyday events where we see his life and heart filled with purpose and passion. If you have not been told lately that your service and time are appreciated, let me remind you that it is, and it is noticed. I know the task to choose names for our school is no small feat, and that the only solution is to build more schools faster, as Mr. Lane Ward said back in March. But in the meantime, thank you for considering living namesakes and the living legacy that their presence on campus can leave in each place of learning and education. Thank you for your trustworthiness and the integrity that you have allowed the community and taxpayers to observe and appreciate from each of you individually and as a board. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much. All right, this time we need to approve the minutes. Need a motion to approve the minutes of March 19, 2019 special meeting.
I'll make a motion.
Do I have a second to that?
Second it.
Do you have any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. I need a motion to approve the minutes of March 21st, 2019 regular board meeting.
I'll make the motion.
Do you have a second to that?
I'll second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Thank you. Board member reports.
Well, I attended the technology meeting today, and I know a few of us were wondering about the most recent outages, and I want you to know that one of the agenda items today, which is the content filter, is supposed to alleviate some of the outages that we've seen here recently, more recently. And the other issue that we're having apparently are the squirrels. So while I love squirrels and I think they're cute, I don't think they're going to be so cute when they're up on power lines anymore, because that's apparently the other issue that we're having. So they are busy. Truly, I've never seen the technology committee have so many highlighted areas. It's really exciting because whenever you see technology have so many things coming up in the process of coming up, you know that we're in the right direction, making sure that we're keeping up with what our staff and students need to do to be successful. So I am going to just highlight the 4 things that are on our agenda tonight. The course switch upgrades, which are an item for approval of switches for special sites and non-campus locations. The other item for tonight is something that was actually recommended in the audit, which is an item for the firewall upgrade. That's also on our agenda tonight. The next item on our agenda is the purchase of an AV solution, and that's an antivirus program that oh, I'm touching that. I'm so sorry. I was making all that noise. And finally, the content filter that I mentioned, that is hopefully going to help us alleviate some of the outages that we're seeing. I don't know too much about it. I'm going to try to repeat what one of the Davids said in the meeting, but it's going away from our system to the cloud. So let's just keep that in mind. Remember the cloud that's somewhere out in the street. But is that correct? Did I get it all right?
Yes, ma'am.
All right.
Perfect.
Any questions? No, but thank you. Y'all are doing a great job. Again, whenever I see this much in technology and everything that you're doing, it just means that we're really moving in the right direction to make sure that we have what we need for next year and in the future too.
Do you have any other reports?
And as Courtney asked, yes, we are building lots of schools. I have the report from our facilities committee meeting as of last Tuesday, this past Tuesday. And 2014 bond is getting smaller because we're finishing up, and 2017 is getting bigger because we're on our way. Judge Thomas R. Culver Elementary School, construction is 80% complete, and the project is on schedule and on budget. Roberts Middle School, construction is 80% complete, project's on schedule and on budget. New maintenance and operations facility, the 11-month warranty walkthrough items are underway, and those things are being addressed. Support services facility, mechanical, electrical, and plumbing, rough-in 98% complete. The project is estimated to be complete May 31st. Tamra Elementary School, permitting is underway, contractor starting to mobilize, contractor preparing submittals, and pre-construction meeting was held April 11th. All right. HVAC web-based controls seeking final acceptance at the meeting tonight. District-wide access control support services hardware is pending installation for Area A. 5 new locations added to scope of work to be completed in April, and closeout documents are underway and hopefully will be at the June meeting. Now, 2017 bond. Facilities assessment and long-range plan. They had a planning meeting with PBK Architect. The kickoff meeting was March 22nd. Questionnaire will be distributed to principals, directors, etc. as of April 19th, so that should have already happened. Classroom intruder equipment install. Electrified hardware door buzzers have been installed. Classroom security intruder original scope of work complete. The punch list is ongoing. All items to be completed in 4 weeks. Child nutrition serving lines. Terry High School new cafeteria serving lines, additional serving line upgrade. Recommendations on the agenda tonight. Construction scheduled for the summer of 2019. And the George Ranch new cafeteria serving lines, additional serving line upgrade. Recommendations on the board tonight. Construction also as of summer 2019. High schools number 6 and junior high number 6. The guaranteed maximum price recommendation has been established and is on this board agenda. Off-site drainage and off-site utilities will be included in future amendment. Fort Bend County MUD number 162 annex process is ongoing. The synthetic track and turf and track projects, Foster, Terry, and Fulshire construction has begun. George Ranch will commence after the regional and state track meets. Foster High School athletic improvements. This project includes improvements to the baseball, softball dugouts, backstops, and the replacement of lockers in the field house. Pre-construction meeting was held on April 2nd. The lockers will be installed by August 1st. Lamar Consolidated High School athletic improvements. PBK Sports is the architect on record. This project will include a new sub-varsity stadium, revise the parent pickup and drop-off of Lamar Junior High, improve the drainage drives and sidewalks for safety. A design kickoff meeting was held and initial schemes are being developed. And as a trailer stadium press box replacement, the design kickoff meeting was held and initial schemes are being developed, but that won't actually be kicked off till after football season to get that fixed for the next year. Multi-campus improvements, William Elementary, they're going to have a carpet replacement, fire sprinkler system, and administration office renovations. Campbell, carpet and vinyl wall covering replacement. Navarro Middle School, carpet replacement and new intercom system. Westendorf, carpet and vinyl wall covering replacement. Contractor recommendation is on the board tonight. And ALC addition and renovations. VLK Architect is the architect of record, and they had their meeting kickoff March 28th. Jane Long Historical Gym renovations. VLK is the architect of record, and they had their kickoff meeting April 17th. And let's see, we have freezer cooler replacements. Competitive seal proposals were opened April 2nd. Contractor recommendation scheduled on this board meeting tonight. And transportation fuel tank replacement. Morrison Associates are starting design of a new fuel island and new above ground storage tanks. So as you see, the 2017 bond is way on its way to get moving. Thank you.
Anything else to report? I would like to report that I got invited to the Holsworth graduation in San Antonio, and that was quite an event. That was That was really fabulous to see us and those other districts, and the reports that each district gave. Our staff represented us very well. It was very interesting to see the differences and the likenesses between or amongst all those 7 districts. And one of the humbling experiences was to meet Mr. Butt, but don't call him that, it's Charles. And to have that man who's donated hundreds of millions of dollars to public education thank me for my service. Great man, thank you. Dr. Randall?
I had my meeting on Monday with the Student Advisory Committee. It was our summit meeting, about 50 kids, and one of the things that I asked them, I said, to finish this sentence, if I were superintendent, I would. And you get a lot of responses to that. But I wanted to mention that this was the first year, the very first year, that they did not mention food. So our food service department has been working really, really hard, and that is a litmus test. Because when they don't mention it, that means that they're eating it and it's good. So.
There you go.
Thank you, Dr. Randall.
That's good. That's so cute.
All right, at this time we'll establish the consent agenda for the evening. All right, item A1, A2, A3, B1, B2, B3, B4, B5. We'll pull B6, B7. We will pull B8 and B9. We have a presentation on B9. B10, B11, B12, B13, B14, B15, B16, B17, B18, B19, B20, B21, C1, D1, D2, D3, D4, and D5. The consent agenda includes all items except B6, B8, and B9. Do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda items?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent items.
Do we have a second to that?
I'll second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Thank you. Before I get on to the other items, let's read the resolutions that we just approved. I think you divided up the responsibilities again here?
Yes.
All right.
Mine first.
Yep. 76. 75.
Starting on page
I
7.
thought I was teacher appreciation.
Okay.
Sorry, Melissa.
So, resolution. Whereas public school paraprofessionals are valuable members of educational teams in classrooms, gymnasiums, libraries, with special education students, and more. And whereas public school paraprofessionals contribute in many ways beyond their most recognizable functions. And whereas the assistance of public school paraprofessionals is particularly important in the daily activities and operations of a school district. And whereas public school paraprofessionals serve our educational community by providing support for students and staff. And whereas public school paraprofessionals assist school and district personnel as trusted communicators with parents and community members. And whereas the connection of public school paraprofessionals to the community aids in communication and positive public relations within the community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of Lamar Consolidated Independent School District declares May 8th, 2019 as Public School Paraprofessional Day and encourages all members of our staff and community to express appreciation to our public school paraprofessionals, adopted this day, 18th day of April 2019.
Thank you.
School nurses. Whereas, excuse me, school nurses play a critical role in the educational process through involvement in the prevention of illness and the early detection and correction of health problems. And whereas school nurses must be specially prepared and qualified to practice preventative health measures, assess health conditions, and handle referrals. And whereas school nurses serve the multiple roles of health educator and health counselor to children and families, resource person to classroom teachers and administrators, child advocate in times of crisis, and liaison among home, school, and community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District declares the week of May 6th through the 12th as School Nurses Week and encourages all members of our staff and community to express appreciation to our school nurses, adopted this 18th day of April 2019.
Whereas today's teachers mold our future citizens through their guidance and education, and whereas today's teachers encounter students of widely differing backgrounds and abilities, and whereas our society expects public education to provide quality education services to all children, no matter what their background or ability, and whereas our country's future depends on the education our youth receives today, and whereas teachers spend countless hours outside their classrooms preparing lessons, evaluating progress, counseling and coaching students, and performing community service, and whereas our community recognizes that its teachers are providing quality educational services to our children. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Board of Trustees of the Lamar Consolidated Independent School District declares the week of May 6th through 10th, 2019 as Teacher Appreciation Week and calls on the community to join with us in personally expressing appreciation to our teachers for a job well done. Adopted this 18th day of April 2019.
Thank you. At this point, we'll take up item B6. Would anyone like to make a motion that we approve the 2019 Historic Site Exemption Qualification for the Simonton School? There's no motion to that effect. That item will have no action on it. Item B8. Okay, the Board of Trustees approved the name of the new schools as, and I filled in the blanks on this that we will vote on. And I went by the ranking that we came up with during the second round. Very difficult to get down to this, but it became fairly obvious that the top two in the elementary schools were Bernard Clifton Terrell Jr. for elementary number 30, Maxine Phelan for elementary number 31. The junior high school, the clear choice there was Harry Wright, and that makes high school number 6 Dr. Thomas Randall. I would accept a motion to approve the names of new schools as read.
I'll make a motion to approve as read.
Do I have a second to that?
I'll second it.
Do we have any discussion, amendments, questions?
Mr. President, I'm just going to say that although I do believe that at some point in the future, Dr. Randall would deserve to have a school named in LCISD for all of his services, I don't agree that while he is still on staff here at LCISD that we would name the school after him.
Yeah. Thank you for your comments. Any other comments, questions, amendments?
I'd like to make an amendment.
All right.
I would like to say high school, Dr. Thomas Randall, junior high, Mr. Harry Wright, elementary, Bernard Clifton Terrell Jr., and the second one, James Woodfin.
Is there a second to that motion? The amendment doesn't have a second. It reverts to the original motion. Any other comments or questions? All those in favor, please raise your hand. Those opposed? The motion carries. Thank you and congratulations to those who received the names, and keep those cards and letters coming, folks, because there are going to be a lot more of them. All right, we now have a presentation of the strategic plan for the school district.
Good evening. I'm Melanie Calton. I'm with the Holdsworth Center, and this is my colleague Jake Cohen. We're really excited to come to you this evening and present the final proposal for the strategic plan that we've been working on for the last several months. So as you'll recall from our earlier conversations, we have been working to develop a plan that will articulate key priorities for the district over the next 5 years. Once the plan is approved, the district will use it to guide development of their annual district improvement plans and superintendent goals. Throughout the process, our goal has been to ensure that the final plan reflects the input received from a broad range of perspectives and generates a sense of ownership from all of the district stakeholders. And to accomplish this, we divided the process into 3 steps. We first gathered input via the listening tour, collecting perspectives from an online survey and 10 community meetings, then using that feedback to identify 5 themes or priority areas. With the board's approval in January, we assembled a diverse and representative committee to develop specific objectives for each of those priority areas. And with the board's approval this evening, the district will officially adopt the plan and begin using it to guide their work. We engaged a large number of stakeholders during the listening tour, with 345 individuals attending 10 community meetings, feedback solicited from every campus and central office department, and over 18,000 individuals sharing their perspective through our online survey. And as we reviewed and analyzed all of that feedback, 5 clear themes emerged. In January, the board approved these themes to guide the work of our committee. A desire to evolve the student learning experience, a need to equip students with knowledge and skills to succeed in a changing world, the need to provide a safe and healthy environment for our students, an appeal to aggressively plan for the district's rapid growth while also preserving its culture, and the need to focus on recruiting, retaining, and developing top-tier talent across the district.
Good evening, board members, Dr. Randall. So in February, we comprised a 33-member committee to deliver this work. And I'd like to just recognize there are several members of the committee that are here tonight. If you were on the committee, would you mind just standing and being recognized for a moment? So the committee was composed of 7 community members, 10 parents, 6 staff, 5 parents who are also staff, and 5 students. And their task was to study and consolidate the feedback from the listening tour, everything we heard, as well as relevant information related to the strategic priorities, and develop a draft strategic plan to present to you tonight. So throughout the process, the committee was also supported by Holdsworth staff, as well as each meeting, Dr. Randall and members of the cabinet attended to answer any potential questions that came up. So as you can see, the committee had a very short period of time in which to accomplish an incredible amount of work. So the first meeting, the committee was introduced to the process, and the goal was to gain as much clarity as possible on what they would do to begin reviewing data from the listening tour and to break out into these 5 strategic priority groups. The next 3 meetings, each focus team, which was assigned to a priority, was assigned to begin developing, refining, and coming to consensus on a series of objectives for each strategic priority area. So I'd like to now introduce Pam Polk, who was a member of the committee, who was a retired LCISD educator, to just share for a moment her experience working on the committee.
Good evening. Being a part of the Strategic Planning Committee was very insightful, and it changed my thought processes in many ways. The collaboration between members of the community, district personnel, and our students showed me that every single person in and around LCISD plays a hand in shaping the future of our children. I walked in with the perspective of a classroom educator, but now feel like I more fully understand the needs and dreams and hopes of all our stakeholders, from our superintendent to our nutrition department, from our building maintenance workers to our paraprofessional staff. It was an amazing experience to work with people who are so dedicated to our students. As a quick note, even though we didn't even meet during spring break, I found myself so enjoying working on the strategic plan, it's kind of my cup of tea, that I fully revised our objectives during the break and between the second and third meeting. It was a great experience. My vision for this strategic plan is that it will guide you, our Board of Trustees, our school leaders, and our campus staff in leading Lamar to further excellence. With the input that was given during the committee meetings, I am confident the plan will be put into place. The entire committee put their hearts into the plan and finalized goals and objectives that will enhance LCISD's reputation and bring more families to our district. My hope is that each and every staff member in the district will take this strategic plan to heart to give our students a springboard to a lifetime of learning. And it was a real privilege to serve on this committee.
Thank you. Thank you.
So, as we've discussed, the final plan aligns to the 5 strategic priorities that were approved by you, the board, in January. These are some nice images from the board, the committee's work. So, I'm going to kind of walk through each priority and the objectives that the committee created. So the first is evolving the student learning experience to prioritize innovative changes in how students learn. And what that really focuses on is student learning by ensuring that classrooms, educators, and families are up to date and prepared to deliver the best possible education to all LCISD students. Now, this includes ensuring students have access to real-world learning opportunities, updated technology, personalized learning to meet their needs, and that parents and guardians are not left behind but are able to support them actively in their learning journeys. The second priority is equipping students with the knowledge and skills to succeed in a changing world, no matter their desired career path. So while the first priority focused on how students learn, the second priority was really about what students learn in order to meet the needs of employers today and to be global citizens that are capable of tackling the biggest challenges that they're going to face. So in order to do this, graduates must be prepared with critical thinking and communication skills. They must have equitable access to college and career options, regardless of where one lives in the district. And all stakeholders in Lamar must be aware of potential options to which these students have access.
When it comes to promoting a safe and healthy environment, the committee felt it was important to focus on both emotional and physical safety. In particular, they agreed the district should increase mental and emotional health supports and resources, work to ensure equitable disciplinary practices throughout the district, and leverage up-to-date technology to ensure all facilities provide a safe, inclusive learning environment. The projected growth of the district presents both challenges and opportunities. In order to preserve the strong culture of Lamar CISD throughout the coming growth period, the committee proposes a focus on 4 areas: maintaining the neighborhood school culture, actively engaging community partners, executing a facilities plan that prioritizes new and existing facilities equally, and ensuring the district creates a budget and staffing plan to meet the increasing demands as the district grows. The faculty and staff in LCISD are key to our students' success, and the committee suggests the district focus on talent to position Lamar as an employer of choice. In particular, they recommend that the district maintain competitive compensation and benefits packages, focus on expanding professional development experiences, provide opportunities for advancement, and work to increase awareness of LCISD as a destination of choice to live, work, and learn. So what's next? Once adopted, our hope is that the strategic plan will become a guiding light for the district and serve to clarify the work in the coming years. The first step will be to ensure that the district improvement plan and the superintendent's goals align to the strategic plan. And this will help ensure that the strategic plan comes to life in the district and in all its initiatives. And finally, we just want to say what an honor it's been to work with you in creation of this plan and to meet so many inspiring people throughout the process. We're grateful to have played a role in helping clarify the direction for the district and are really excited to see where the district goes over the next 5 years.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Do I have a motion to approve the 2018-19 Strategic Planning Committee's recommendation for Lamar Consolidated Independent School District Strategic Plan?
I'll make that motion.
Do I have a second to that?
I'll second it.
Any questions or discussion? I would just simply say what a fabulous piece of work. I mean, it's beyond my expectations, the number of people who got involved in this, the community involvement in it, and then when you boil it down to these, as I said the other night, you look at each one of those statements, and that's fairly simple until you start digging into what that statement means. And there's a ton of work to do. So, yeah, very well done. You can't imagine how much we appreciate all the Holsworth has done in this. Thank you so much.
And Mr. President, I'd also like to add that Jake, Melanie, Brian, and that staff, they pulled all of the information together. They really did a lot of heavy lifting, and that is a big part of the Holsworth partnership. And again, we'd like to thank you all for your efforts.
So all in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. We got a couple of information items to take care of here.
We have a council.
Pardon me?
We have another presentation.
We will have one information item. I'll go ahead and read this. It's as board president, I'm required to announce the name of each member who has, as of that member's anniversary of election or appointment to the board, that have completed these education requirements. We have completed the required continuing education, have exceeded the requirement continuing education, and are deficient in meeting the required continuing education. There are 4 tiers of categories. The first one is the local district orientation. We didn't have any new board members, so we didn't have anything in Tier 1. Tier 2 is the team building training. The following board members have completed the required team building training: Mandy Bronzell, Kay Danzinger, Dr. Tyson Harrell, Catherine Kaminsky, Melissa Roberts, and James Steenbergen. Tier 3, annual continuing education. The following board members have completed the Tier 3 annual continuing education requirements: Mandy Bronzell, Kay Danzinger, Dr. Tyson Harrell, Joe Hubenak, Catherine Kaminsky, Melissa Roberts, and James Steenbergen. Tier 4, evaluating student academic performance training. The following board members have completed the required training for Tier 4 training on evaluating student academic performance: Mandy Bronzell, Kay Danzinger, Dr. Tyson Harrell, Joe Hubenak, Catherine Kaminsky, Melissa Roberts, and James Steenbergen. At this point in time, we're going to have a presentation on the counselor's roles and responsibilities update.
Before he gets started, I would like to add he has some really nice soft guns. Are you going to show them to us?
Not right now. It's not. I didn't build in a slide for that, so I apologize. Good evening. I'm here to give an update on the whole child safety and wellness model that was originally presented May of 2018. And so, if I turn this on, there we go. So the original rationale that was shared in May of 2018 is LCISD is augmenting the comprehensive guidance model to include a broader and deeper support of our students with the new whole child safety wellness model. This addresses the TEA required comprehensive guidance model while expanding our support in the following areas of growth mindset, environmental well-being, and mental health. So the ultimate goal is to purposefully and consistently engage and support students' social and emotional development that promotes resiliency as well as self-efficacy. And so this model of the 6 core areas is familiar to you as it was presented along with the 6 pillars of character counts, breaking down what would this model entail. So during the May 2018 board meeting, it was presented of these recommendations. So in order to have appropriate time allocation for service delivery, duties are currently being reduced to enable counselors to execute the model with fidelity beginning in 1819, as well as recommended student counselor and support ratios that are based on best practices from the American School Counseling Association.
So as we begin looking at this, this was again, and I know the print is small on this one, but I'm going to have it on another slide that's larger. These were the recommendations given for this current year. So last year, it was given as the recommendations for 18-19, as well as the recommendations moving forward in year 2 of this model. When we begin looking at our current counselor to student ratios, you can see we have a breakdown of by title high school, non-title high schools, and all the way through their different areas. At our Title I high schools, our current counselor to student ratio is 1 to 375, and the recommendation previously stated was 1 to 400. For non-title high schools, currently we're sitting at 1 to 473, with the recommendation being at 1 to 550. For Title I junior highs, our current ratio is 1 to 393, with the recommendation being 1 to 400. For non-title junior highs, we are at 1 to 430, and the recommendations being at 1 to 550. At the middle school, we are currently at 1 to 553, with the recommendations being at 1 to 550. And then at the elementary, 1 to 646, with the recommendation being 1 to 1,000.
Dr. Maxwell, I have a comment.
Yes.
Question. Is that accurate, though? Because that would be based on every campus having the same population.
So this is the average ratios of everything total together with our counselor levels and our students.
So it's inaccurate then, because we're taking a total amount of students, correct, and we're just dividing them by counselors?
To get an overall average for those. And so I do have this broken down for each of the campus levels. For each of the counselors. And so we looked at this, and this we can get into when we get into the recommended moving forward of the number of allocated spots for new counselors.
Well, and I guess perhaps maybe I just don't understand, because when we're talking about, let's say, the elementary school, and we have 1 to 646, but then we have some elementary schools that have over 800 students.
Yes.
That would basically be presenting this as we have the counselor to student ratio that's recommended is 1 to 1,000, and yet, I don't know, it just seems to me that we're implying that we have something that it's really not.
I'd put down the same comment. We have 6 that have over 800, 1 over 900, I think, and 3 over 700. So we got over 25% of our current elementary schools that have 700 plus. So I have the same concern. Averaging does a nice job of covering up your warts.
Well, currently it is an average of the elementary campuses as well as the middle school campuses as they're classified.
Understand.
So then getting into the counselor units approved for the 1920 school year. 1 additional high school counselor and 3 additional junior high counselors. This is all based on enrollment projections for our community.
Can I ask a question about that? So it's not based on the wellness model and how we're supposed to be.
It's based on the wellness model with the projections put into the account.
Because weren't we supposed to already add that many regardless of the enrollment projections? So shouldn't we have more counselors?
What this is saying is that these are the ones that have already been approved. There are some additional ones that are being added to the list, like we have a number of other positions that have, in HR, they keep a spreadsheet of all of the requests that, and what we did, what we went through and looked at, what are we able to afford to do right now with our current budget situation? And that's what this represents. The other additional ones that will be added will be a part of the recommendations moving forward that we look at. And you know, every year, and this year, for example, we're looking at about $28 million worth of additional requests across the board. And so we always, after that first run, we take a look at, we don't know what the legislature is going to do. We don't know what our tax rate is going, our values are going to be. So we've added all of those requests, and they're on that spreadsheet. If you go in and approve all of the requests now, and later, if we don't have the funding to be able to move forward with it, then you basically handcuff the rest of the group that would be approving the board budget in September.
I guess I would have felt better if we'd had some of that verbiage in there, at least targets going forward, because I didn't see a forward-going plan at all. We had on the last chart, you had a gray line out there, and I have no idea what year that is. And I understand it's all in flux, but it'd been very handy if we'd really had a plan that says, okay, what we'd really like to do this next year is add 4 counselors or whatever it is. The next year, this many with your ratio, your target ratios that you're looking for. But as the way it's presented here, the whole thing sort of left me dangling. Okay, where are we going?
We can clean that up a little bit for you, but I can tell you that there's 6 additional counselors above that number when you look at the ratio that was presented to you earlier.
That would give me more warm fuzzies than this did. So I'm going to pick on you after you sit down a little bit.
Because wouldn't this be the recommendation based on enrollments regardless of whether this wellness model existed at this point or not?
Can you repeat your question?
Wouldn't this be a recommendation currently regardless of whether it was addressing the wellness model? Wouldn't we be looking at that regardless based on enrollment?
We're going back and obviously looking at the May 2018 recommendations of the 5-year plan that was presented to the board. And so, as Dr. Randall stated, we're evaluating some other additional requests as we're evaluating across the board. But specifically, that 5-year plan outlined a certain number of positions at year 1, year 2, year 3, year 4. And so that is our response to the original question, is the update of the 5-year plan. And so we referred it back to the May 2018 report.
Okay, thank you.
So then we collected data points to determine where are we with the counselors in our district as well. We wanted to look at the service delivery, the counselor responsibilities, and so we collected that from principal and counselor feedback. We also then wanted to look at how our counselors are using their time based on the 4 components that come from the Texas Model for Comprehensive School Counseling Programs. So we really want to dig in, and this comes from a counseling app that the counselors submit how their time is being utilized during their day. So these two show the exact same data, just in different ways. One is a table, one is, again, a graph. And so what we see is in those areas of non-counseling duties, there has been a decrease at the district level for each of the areas. Now the percentages represent the percent of counselors within the district who are still going from in 2017 had that responsibility to 2018-19 having that responsibility. And so the largest decreases are in the area of ARDS, Campus Testing Coordinator, and 504 meetings. And then I have this broken down into the elementary level, showing the differences from 17-18, to 18-19. With the largest decreases happening in Campus Testing Coordinator, 504, and RTI. At the middle school, we see 3 areas of decrease at the ARDS, the 504, and the LPAC meetings, with discipline going across staying at 0, that counselors were in charge or involved with those. The junior high, we saw the decreases happening being the ARD meetings and the 504 meetings. We saw an increase in RTI meetings, and I'm going to get to that because we collected feedback from principals and counselors also of why these changes occurred. At the high school level, we saw a decrease at the ARD meetings, and again, a lot of zeros going across, but then we saw, again, the RTI meetings had an increase. And so when we looked at the qualitative data that the principals and counselors shared, for the RTI meetings, we saw that the principals and counselors were involved in those when it was really for behavioral RTIs. And so we also looked at this and tried to figure out where else these responsibilities were being shifted to. And from our counselors and principals, we see that a lot of these have shifted to multiple other positions on the campus. But in the areas of ARD meetings, RTI, and discipline, it really was focused on the social emotional needs of the students, if necessary, to bring the counselor in.
Is that a wish list, or are we really doing that?
This one right here?
Yes.
That is taken directly from quotes from the survey results that I received from principals and counselors.
Well, I have a question. So From my understanding is APs picked up a lot of the responsibilities that the counselors were doing to free up the counselors to work directly with students. So who picked up the responsibilities of the APs that the APs were already engaged in? Or are we basically setting this up for failure because we just don't have the staff that's really allocated? Because the way that I look at it is we provided a counselor, an actual counselor who works day to day with the kids on the campus. But what we did in the process was we took away an AP, because now the AP has taken all the responsibilities that the counselor used to have, and we've given them to the AP, but there were a lot of responsibilities that the AP already had. And talking to some of the counselors and some of the principals, it's a shared concern, and it's basically what we're hearing, or what I'm hearing out there.
Ms. Roberts, we're actually evaluating all of that as we're talking to different groups within the elementaries to be able to look at kind of some of the concerns. And so that is a work in progress currently right now. They've just distributed that workload, and then the principal and the assistant principal kind of have taken on that workload. And some schools are doing it much better than others. And so part of it for our response would be proper training and additional support that we can provide at this point.
Well, and I can imagine that there would be some schools who would do much better in regards to it, because again, we've got some schools that have 350 students and some schools that have over 800, and yet we're not doing anything different for the campuses that have over 800 students than the campuses that have 350. So I just feel like there are some schools, based on what we're looking at and based on what this wellness model is showing me, that we're just setting some schools up for failure. There's just no way that this is going to work for them based on what we're providing for them right now.
Well, but I think once upon a time, a lot of the responsibilities of the AP, some of that was shifted down to the counselor, and I think that's where we got into the mess to begin with. So it is a catch-22. You don't want to overload or rob Peter to pay Paul, but you do. There had to be a stop, because testing, a lot of that was being thrown to the counselor, and they were having less and less time of being with the students. And I think that's where this all came about. So anyway, just go ahead, continue.
So then we get into the data collected directly from the counselors themselves of the use of their time. The way this is broken down is to the 4 components of the program structure for school counseling coming from TEA. And then we also have the last group, which is non-counseling time. What you're seeing in the blue is for Lamar CISD, the 2016-17 data. And then in the orange or red, you see the current 2018-19 data, which was collected from September through April 1st. And then the gray bar represents the recommendations coming from the Texas Model for Comprehensive School Counseling Program. And so this is the district level, and again, I have it broken down into other levels, but you can see from the blue to the red, we do have some progress moving in the guidance curriculum towards the recommended. We are not there yet, by no stretch of the word, but we also see some individual student planning moving a little higher than the recommended. Again, we're moving in responsive services in the right direction. The system support is now closer to the recommended level at the district level, and our non-counseling time spent by counselors has decreased by double digits for the district level. When we look at this at elementary and middle school together, we start seeing again some of the similar trends that we saw from the district level. From this one, the biggest decrease again came from the non-counseling duty from 61% to 37%. We are still going towards the guidance curriculum and responsive services, and the system support is now more in line with the recommendations. At the high school and junior high levels, we see again some of the same trends. A little less of a decrease for the non-counseling duties, but again it is down about 15%. And then we see again some of the similar trends of not being there yet, but moving in the right direction towards meeting the recommended levels from TEA.
Earlier you said that you did have a breakdown by campus.
I do have that.
Not in this.
It's not. I can get that.
Okay.
Yes.
Backing up to your five-year plan recommendation says May 2018. The recommended student counselor and support ratios are based on the best practices from the ASCA. Well, you've given the engineer some data and the time on his hands. I went to the ASCA recommendations, and they recommend a ratio of 1 to 250. Then I got to watch, in some more of my digging, Senate Bill 426, Texas School Counselor Association recommended 1 and 250 to 1 350. And regardless of whether you want to argue, it's 250, 350, 400. The state both agree that the lower ratios improve student outcomes. By improving student outcomes, they're talking about reducing discipline referrals by 50%. And along with that, the increased performance in academics. So when you came up with that 1,000, I don't remember the 1,000 before, because logically that just didn't make any sense to me, period. If you got 1,000, 1 per 1,000 kids, and some more stuff I dug up. We've already talked about the schools that have that many students. If we don't get this in the elementary schools, we're going into the repair mode and not the prevent mode. CDC reported last year that 65% of all mental health issues present before age 16. So by the time they're in high school, the mold has already been set. So we have got to concentrate on those elementary schools, and that 1 to 1,000 just doesn't cut it for me. Or the 1 to 800, we're already 1 to 800, so that's no stretch goal at all. Another one that bothered me, the Texas State Statistics report that 12% of high school students in 2017 contemplated or attempted suicide. This is what we're trying to stop. And we have got to get serious about going down to the elementary school and catching these kids. First thing, sex trafficking targets, they target 12 to 14-year-olds. So by the time they're in the 6th grade, these kids who have emotional problems, who have no self-esteem, that's the girls they're looking for to do that with. That's why I think it's so critical we get down into the elementary schools. Get some more of these. As I said, you didn't have an end date on the big problem I had. We had no checkpoints in here. I don't know what the targets are. I don't know what days are on there. When we have this, I said, well, we went into the gray out here. There's no date on it, so we really are in the gray because I don't know when that is. And now I'll close out with a couple of comments here.
How long has this? How long has it been since it was rolled out initially? The wellness model, where the counselor started
just
at the beginning. So I'm wondering, why don't we already have a report back from the campuses on what, to be real, what's working, what's not working, what are their challenges, what is it? Because I understand what you're saying, that the principals used to have the responsibilities of the testing and things, and then they shifted it over to the counselors. But that's because the principals needed to be somewhere else, or they had other responsibilities. It's not like the principals or the assistant principals have been sitting back with their, feet up on their desk. So there's still the factor of we still have a missing link here. And so what I'm hearing now, initially it was, well, basically we don't have the resources, we don't have the staff, we don't have the support to really be successful with wellness model. And that was a couple of months ago, although I was also hearing some really positive feedback that for those campuses that were seriously attempting to try to do this, and it was taking a lot of work beyond the school hours for some of the principals and counselors, and just trying to support each other to make sure that they were still doing everything that had to be done with the testing and all of the ARDs and everything else. But I did hear a lot of positive in that their behavior discipline referrals were down, that kids seemed to be happier on the campuses, et cetera. So I was really excited. I knew that the teacher or the principal and the counselor were struggling trying to get a balance between the two. But now that it's kind of nearing the end of the year and they've given it a really good effort and have seen absolutely, whether it be no support or even a follow-up on, okay, so what does this look like? What are the challenges for each of your campuses? And just getting some real data, it's basically going back to what it was. Okay, now we're nearing the end of the year. the counselors seeing less and less students, the principals freeing their time up to do what they needed to do initially. So it's just not working the way that it is because and again, and I understand the budget more. Last year we were nearly in a deficit for, had Hurricane Harvey not hit, we probably would have been. But I don't feel like it's fair to roll something like this out, and I wish, hindsight is 20/20, but I wish I would have known a lot more about exactly how this was going to play out, because it's unfair of us to ask even you to roll something like this out if we're not prepared to give you the resources, to give you the budget to hire the staff that it's going to take to make this successful. Because at the end of the day, that's the bottom line. It's not that people are not working hard, because we know that you are, and we thank you for it. And we know that the APs are, and the counselors are, and any of us can walk on any campus, and we can see how hard every one of those people is working. But if we're not giving you the staff that you need to do this, perhaps maybe it might be time to just sit back and maybe take some realistic views at this and have some goals that are far more attainable than what we're looking at right now.
Yes, ma'am.
Have we seen, oh, I'm sorry.
I got to listen to, I watched some testimony of Senate Bill 426, and it was kind of sad to hear this, because that Senate bill would require counselors to spend at least 80% of their time counseling. It's pretty bad when we've got to have people in Austin telling us that we need to let these people do the jobs that they were trained to do, and not having them do clerk work. And that's what happens if school districts across the state of Texas don't pay attention to what they're doing. Then the state will step in and they will say, all right, here's your new goal, you're going to have more reporting, there's other things we have to do that go along with it. So it's in our best interest to stay ahead of that curve and not be one of those districts that they're quoting these statistics on. It was sad, just sad to hear the testimony. And then I heard Senate Bill 1390 about the suicide prevention. Those are tough hearings to watch. But it goes back, and I'll leave with my final thought. I was going through this stuff, and I said, it's not platitudes and plaques, it's people. If we don't get the people in there to do this, we've lost.
Have we seen, depending upon elementary, junior high, high school, middle school, have we seen a difference in one area better than the other? Where are they really still struggling? Is it more of the elementary because there's only one counselor on
I think
each?
you're dealing with a transitional year, and so anytime that you implement something and people are getting used to a new job description and taking on the testing, there is a learning curve. However, I am confident that we can continue with proper training and support of those personnel to kind of guide them through the second year, as well as evaluating the personnel requests that we currently have, as Dr. Randall stated, within our spreadsheet on different positions.
I understand. I'll repeat, that's one of the best investments we can make, long-term investment, the preventative, and avoiding a lot of the work that staff has to do in taking care of these referrals that they have to have. Number one, in the promote a safe and healthy environment, increase mental and emotional health supports and resources to improve the socio-emotional well-being among students and staff. I may be going away after this meeting, but I'm going to become a thorn in somebody's side on this one.
I understand, sir. I understand.
I have a concern. Our goals were to actually decrease the number of students to counselors, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
And am I reading this correctly that y'all proposed one counselor to 1,000 and it was 1 to 650?
No.
Am I?
No,
I'm misunderstanding that?
Currently have.
That benchmark, the standard there is 1 to 1,000. We actually have on the average is 1 to 640, whatever it is.
But that's only putting us over that.
Okay, I was hearing recommending, and I didn't need that clear.
I think that what I would say is that ultimately the goal is so that counselors have the opportunity to engage with students with their socio-emotional behavior. That could mean that we have facilitators who are focusing on the testing area. And some campuses, what they've done is that they've identified folks who are their testing coordinators. And they relieve the amount of time that counselors were actually spending on that. So there are multiple ways to address the same issue. And it's just a matter of giving us an opportunity to take and work through some of these issues without also breaking the bank. And we want to make sure that when you come back up here to speak at audience or patron, you're saying, I see.
I look forward to that. I look forward to that, sir.
And I recognize transitional year. We probably need to give you another year, but at the same time.
No, I don't want to give them another year.
Well, the expectation would be this coming year that this will decrease greatly.
Let's see. What's this say? What's this say?
My main concern is the elementary.
Drive for results.
Elementary.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, sir. And yes, ma'am.
This is not coast, this is drive.
Drive.
Yes, sir.
Plan for success.
We hear you.
All right. Any other questions, comments?
Thank you, and please don't take any of this personally, it's just,
I wanted to say pull your socks up because here we go, but I
because I do appreciate how hard you work, and I know everything that's been invested in this, we really do. I think that some of our frustration comes in is when we're taking just an average rather than really targeting.
And we can get you specific
information. Well, and it's not that I need specific information, it's just that as a board, and I'm not going to be here after this month either, but I think that one of the things that needs to happen is that we need to see exactly, or at some point, there's going to have to be able to be some type of reporting back to you so that you know what each campus is in need of, and that communication between the campus and the central admin. And that's really the only way that we're going to be able to make sure that this is successful.
Yes, ma'am.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
All right, the only closed session issues we might have are the personnel issues. Everybody's had a chance to look at those. Is there any need to go into closed session, or can we simply vote on those?
I'll take one.
All right. We have 4 motions. I'll pass 2 that way. I should pass 2 this way. Melissa, would you entertain the first motion there, please?
Sure. Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Trustees approve renewal of contracts of professional teachers, support personnel, except those identified in the addendum.
Is there a second to that?
Second.
Any questions, discussion? All in favor, please say aye. Aye. Opposed? There are none. Thank you. Okay.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Trustees approve the recommendation of Keisha Jones as the principal of Smith Elementary School.
Do I hear a second to that?
Second.
Any questions, discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Thank you. Catherine?
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Trustees approve the recommendation of Bethany Cunningham as the principal of Huggins Elementary School.
Do I have a second to that?
I'll second.
Any discussion, questions? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There are none. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I move that the Board of Trustees approve the recommendation of Risa Crosby as the principal of Long Elementary School.
Do I have a second to that motion?
A second.
Any questions, discussion? All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Takes care of the closed agenda items, the closed session items that we didn't have. All right. Any future agenda items? Upcoming meetings, events, we have the employee banquet, 23rd.
I want to say there was a little article, Tommy Toons Award is actually April 30th, and of the 4 schools in Fort Bend County, 3 were in our school district that are up for awards that night, and congratulations to those students and teachers and parents, and we'll be listening, and hopefully we can hear some more awards, but I consider them all winners already. But it's Fulshire, Foster, and Terry High School, and I'm very excited for those 3 schools.
Is any other business to bring before this board?
Surf's up.
Surf's up. Surf's up.
Surf's up the 3rd of May, and of course elections.
Yeah, and get out there and vote, because people are very lax about voting these off here in the school board elections, and it's critically important you do so.
They have some big chairs to fill.
And I'm going to ask each of you to take a look at Dr. Maxwell's
You're out of order, Ms. Roberts. This meeting stands adjourned at 8:14. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.